any polls, but maybe while I get started in Excel, maybe Dan, if he hasn't yet done it, we'll create 1 or 2 polls just to ask you guys a couple of questions, like, are you just watching, or are you doing, and are you on a Mac or are you on a Windows computer? Dan is pretty fast, so I know Dan can probably get those whipped up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we've actually got one that I've already put there, which we're just curious to know if you've attended any of our crash courses before, but we're going to wait because we have about 20 people who have logged on and we had about 160 people who registered. So I'm sure people are going to log on in the next couple of minutes. So we'll wait until the clock strikes 10 before we ask any of those poll questions. But yeah, I'll set up a couple more questions in the meantime. We are streaming this to YouTube as well. So you might be watching on YouTube live or the recording. Okay, in the meantime, Gilla Glazer has said, good morning, guys. David Green is here. David Green is from Switched On IT, and this is, in fact, a collaboration between Excel Academy and Switched On IT. So we're very grateful for the partnership. And yeah, we're excited to be reaching a lot of people from our side as well as from Switched On IT side. So thank you for that collaboration. And yeah, we're going to get started. As you can see on my camera, what's the clock on now? Just over 2 minutes. Okay, so welcome. In the meantime, you can let us know where in the world you are. It's been amazing over the last 6 months during this lockdown period to be reaching people all over South Africa and all over the world. So Mark Sparrow is in Ranana in Israel. I think he's got his 10-month-old baby strapped to his front, and he managed to get the link. He was WhatsApping me, very keen to join. So welcome to Mark. Welcome to everybody who's joined. Yeah. Very South African part of Israel, sometimes known as Ranana Fontaine. Okay, Rensha is joining us from Heidelberg. Thank you for joining. Sue Beneta is in Cape Town. Okay, we're going to get cracking in just over a minute time. So in the meantime, take your seats, pour yourself a nice cup of tea or coffee. It's a bit chilly here in Joburg today. Okay, I think that's probably Jean or Jean Goldstein joining from Cape Town. Guys, if you want to post messages that everyone in the audience can see, you can change the setting to all panelists and attendees. And if you want to ask a specific Excel related question, then please use the Q&A box. Okay, once again, this is going to be very, very practical. We're going to give you an Excel file to download. We'll post the link shortly, so you'll be able to download and follow along with us. And as Avi mentioned, we'd actually love to know if you're going to be just watching or if you're actually going to be working along with us as well. So we're going to ask that question soon.
Are you doing those polls? Otherwise, I'm happy to. I'm ready in the back end here.
Okay, then Avi is going to do the polls. Okay, we're going to ask you some questions soon. Natalie Joel is joining from Johannesburg, and we'll try work on it too. Fantastic. Okay, so it has just gone 10 o'clock here, and let's get cracking. Okay, turn that off. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks to everybody who's just joined. I see a lot of people are still entering. I hope that load shedding or power outages, I know in some parts of Johannesburg, there's been some power issues. So I hope you can join us, or regardless, if you registered and you're watching the recording, thank you. My name is Dan, and I'm joined on screen by my colleague and my partner in Excel Crime, Avi Levy, and we are going to be taking you on this very, very practical Excel crash course, 5 best kept Excel secrets. We're going to be sending a link very shortly in the chat where you can download the Excel files so that hopefully you can follow along with us live, or you can just watch, because we will be covering a lot of material and it might be a little bit overwhelming if you're only on one screen to try and watch us and to try and do the Excel stuff in real time. So if that is the case, then please don't stress about it. Just watch. Hopefully you'll be really excited and impressed with what Excel can do, and you will be able to watch the recording and go through the material in your own pace. So once again, a big thank you to David Green from Switched On IT. And yeah, we're excited to be able to launch into it. So I'm going to post the link to the page into the chat section. Okay, if you click on that link, I'm going to click on it now and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, which shows this page on our site. Okay, I can press F11. We love keyboard shortcuts. There you can see, press F11. That takes you into full screen mode on Google Chrome. And here you can see that there's a red button. I'm going to click on that red button and it's going to download a zipped folder. And that zipped folder has the Excel data that you're going to need for this crash course. And it also has a free cheat sheet. Okay, our free cheat sheet with keyboard shortcuts has become quite popular over the years. People love learning how to work smart. We love helping people to become keyboard people as opposed to mouse people. So you can open that up. I'm going to open up this zipped folder. You probably won't be able to see it here because I'm only sharing my Google Chrome through Zoom. So just while a lot of people are still joining the room, if you have just joined, welcome, thanks for joining us. We're going to share that link a couple of times in the chat. The link enables you to download the Excel spreadsheet that you will be using, or that we will be using. Hopefully you'll be following along. And I'm going to share my screen once again, just so you can see what it looks like. And then Avi's going to open it up. He's going to share his screen and he is going to take you through the 5 best kept Excel secrets with a whole lot of passion and excitement. Okay, so let me share my screen just to show you what this looks like. Okay, so once you've opened the Excel file, we'll give you a moment or two to open it up. This is what you should see. Okay, we've got how many columns? 7. We've got full name, progress, workshop, sign-in count, last activity. We've got SAST, we'll talk about that, and we've got member since. Okay, and 7 columns of data, and we're going to be looking at how many rows. Okay, we've got quite a lot of rows of data. We're going to be talking about what this data is, and we're going to be revealing to you 5 amazing secrets to help you to really understand and get a grip with this information in your spreadsheet. Okay, if you do have specific Excel related questions, please post them into the Q&A and we will do our utmost to get to all of those or as many of those questions as possible. We'd love to make this as interactive as possible. We can't see you, we can't hear you, but we can communicate with you via the chat and the Q&A. We also have a few poll questions that Avi has set up. And maybe we should actually start that before we dive straight into Excel. Avi's going to be sharing his screen. Let's ask you 1 or 2 questions. So thank you, Avi. Have you attended one of our crash courses before? So we're going to launch that now. If you're watching live on Zoom, on the Zoom application, then you will have the ability to vote. We'll leave that up for about 30 seconds. It will be great to know if you have attended any of our crash courses before. I see the majority of you have not, so it's great to have a lot of new people with us. Okay, we're going to leave that up for another 10 seconds. Most of you have voted, so thank you for that. Okay, and taking that down in 3 seconds. Okay, so let's end that. Okay, there are the results. So more than half of you are here for the first time. So it's great to have you with us. Thank you for giving us your time. While we are at it, are you going to be watching or doing? Okay, so maybe you're not sure and you're going to say, I'll see how it goes. We always encourage hands-on, practical, roll up your sleeves and actually get your hands dirty and get stuck into Excel. But that being said, we are aware that this is live on Zoom and it might be a bit too overwhelming to actually watch us and do it in real time. So it's more than okay if you want to do this later. Remember, we are recording it. Okay, so it looks like almost a fairly even split. Okay, we're going to end that now. It's been 30 seconds. So thank you for all of your votes. Most of you, 40% saying, I'll see how it goes. Okay, and good to know whether you are working on Mac or Windows. So once again, if you're watching live, you've got that poll question coming on and definitely the vast majority on Windows. Okay, if we can, that's a quick answer. So we can end that poll in 2 seconds.
I'm interested to know who the one person is.
Yeah, 1 person who's working on a Mac. Okay, 42 of you have said, 98% of you have said Windows. And our final poll question is going to come later. So you better stay tuned. So we've got lots of exciting stuff. Without anything further from me, I'm going to mute myself and Avi's going to share his screen and he's going to take you on a roller coaster Excel journey that you can look forward to. So Avi, over to you.
Fantastic. All right, guys, you should be able to see my screen now. I'm in Excel. So a couple of important things to note before we get too carried away. Firstly, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. First thing I'm going to do, how do we zoom in? Any ideas, any guesses? There's a few ways to do it in Excel. You could do it the long way. You could go up to the view tab and you could go to zoom. That's a bit slow. The simplest and easiest way is to use this thing, the mouse. Okay. Although we are going to be looking at some keyboard shortcuts for now, this is a great mouse shortcut. You hold down the control button and you, with that little rolly ball on your mouse, you just scroll in. Okay, so you can see what I've done. I hold down control and I scroll in with that little rolly thing on my mouse. That's the first thing, just so we can see a little bit clearer what's going on. Then, guys, there are two tips that we like giving when we start any Excel crash course or any course or any workshop. When you are looking at a spreadsheet that you've never seen before, okay, although you did see it a few minutes ago, but before that, you had never seen this. There are two tips and two recommendations that we give when you're looking at a spreadsheet you've never seen before. Number one is to do a pivot table. No, wrong answer. Don't get too carried away, guys. When you're looking at a spreadsheet you've never seen before, there are two simple things that we want you to do. The first thing is to save as. Okay, what does that mean? Because right now, editing is not actually enabled and it's saved in a random location. So what we're going to do, if yours says enable editing, click on enable editing. Okay, then what we actually need to do, I think before we say enable editing, oh wow, okay, maybe because it's in a zip folder. Okay, let me actually start again. This is not going so well for me now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my overall screen. Yeah, you can extract to folder, but it normally works straight away anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my entire screen. You guys should see this landing page now. I'm going to download my Excel file. I'm then going to open this. Okay, I think Mark is actually right. So let's just let's go to downloads. Let's just say, let's just show, let me make this simple in case you're having the same error. Go into this file and just say Control X, and then I'm just going to paste it into my downloads folder. Okay, so now you can see I'm going to open up this. So I've cut it out of the zip file. I put it in my downloads. Now we hopefully will have some luck. When I click on enable editing, we are winning. Okay, great. Then what we're going to do, you're going to get an opportunity to practice again. We're going to hold down control and we're going to zoom in. Okay, so we now have a chance to go through those two recommendations that I mentioned. Number one is to save as. So I'm going to press F12. Okay, that's the shortcut to save as. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my downloads folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a more unique name. So at the end of the file name, I'm going to put in my initials. Okay, so tip number one, recommendation number one, when you're looking at data you've never seen before, is to save as. The shortcut is F12. Okay, in that zipped file, by the way, guys, you will notice that we've given you a copy of our keyboard shortcut cheat sheets. Okay, you're welcome to download that and even to print it if you like. And on that cheat sheet, you'll see a whole lot of shortcuts and you'll see the F key shortcuts. So one of them is F12, and F12 allows you to save as, to customize the name, to customize the location. I'm then going to say save. So that is recommendation number one. Recommendation number two, when you're looking at data you've never seen before, is to just have a look around. What type of data are we dealing with? Okay, so if we take a slightly closer look, you'll notice that there's some names, there's progress, there are workshops. I know we did this with Dan earlier. So what we hopefully now are noticing, this is an export, an anonymized export of a progress report for our online workshops. Okay, so we remove people's emails. So what you'll notice is that there's progress. These are percentages. We're going to look at formatting those. These are the workshop names. This is how many times a person signed in. These in columns E and column G you might already know. Okay, if you don't know, we're going to discuss that. These are actually dates. They're just unformatted dates in Excel, and we're going to look at some shortcuts to format them very easily and quickly. Then SAST, these are times in Excel. We're also going to discuss how to format these as times. Okay, so another important thing to note, just to make sure you feel comfortable and orientated while you're looking at my screen, my Excel might look a little bit different to yours. There are two things that I want to point out. if you look in the top left-hand corner of your Excel screen, if your colors are a bit different, that's fine. That's just a different version of Excel. It's not a major thing. But you'll notice that your quick access toolbar might look very different to mine. I've customized mine quite a lot, and we're going to be discussing that when we get to our second tip, because our second secret, because we're giving you 5 main secrets today to working smarter and more efficiently in Excel. So when we get to secret number 2, I'm going to discuss this in more detail, but for now, just so you don't feel disorientated or confused, I've customized my quick access toolbar. We're going to look at customizing yours as well a little bit later. The other thing to note is that my ribbon is hidden. So you guys will notice when I click on any of these tabs on the ribbon, you see this ribbon come up. It's that gray panel at the top. It's a ribbon because it's kind of like wrapped on the top. I hide mine by default. So when I click on one of the tabs, I see the ribbon and I see all the options for home, insert, etc. But when I click in Excel, it disappears. Okay. So if I wanted to pin it so it looks more like yours, I think I'll do that for now, just so you don't feel disorientated. That is the option to pin or unpin your ribbon. Dan.
Yes, Avi, I've got a question. And my question is, sometimes my formula bar in my name box disappears.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. So if you're also wondering, this is the name box. This kind of just tells you where you are in Excel. So you can see if I click here, I'm in cell D10, and then it tells me I'm in D10. And this is your formula bar. This tells you what's inside the cell. Just in case yours ever disappears or you're wondering what happened, we often do get this. If you go up to the View tab on the ribbon, I mentioned this earlier very briefly when I was talking about zooming in and zooming out. You'll notice that there's a button here in the show group, more or less in the middle, that says formula bar. So sometimes things happen and we accidentally press things by mistake. If your formula bar and your name box is hidden, then you need to make sure that this formula bar in the show group on the View tab is ticked. Okay. We're going to go back to the Home tab. You'll notice that all the buttons change just to make sure you feel comfortable and orientated, because that's a key thing for us in this crash course and in all of our Excel workshops. We want you to feel comfortable and safe and confident in Excel so that you are not overwhelmed and scared and bored as well. So on to secret number 1. Are you guys ready? It's very, very simple, but you're going to see it's extremely powerful, and hopefully it's going to change the game. It's going to change a lot of things for you in Excel. So all you need to do, guys, is get ready. We're going to get the drum roll here. Okay, or the guitar. I got the guitar behind me. I can do a guitar roll. So what are we going to do? We're going to stand anywhere in this data. Doesn't matter where you are, guys, as long as you're somewhere in the data. If you're outside of the data, this is not going to work. So we're going to go inside the data anyway. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hold down the control button and you're going to press the letter T. T for tango, or in this case, T for table. So we're going to press Control T. Now what you'll notice is this create table box comes up. You don't need to change anything here, unless for whatever reason this box is not ticked, but I'm pretty certain that this box will be ticked, where it says your table does in fact have headers. And you can see what Excel has done is it's gone and picked up your entire data range all the way down to row 7,122. So all we actually need to do, guys, we just need to click on OK. Now what has happened, and you might have seen this before, we've just converted our data into a table. Okay, now I'm sure you will agree, guys, it wasn't very complicated. It might look complicated, and how did we do this? How did we set this up? And there's filter buttons and there's colors. All we had to do was stand in our data. It is important, by the way, that your table does have headers, because you can see it's kind of differentiated the headers from the data. And we pressed Control T, it picked up the data, it just double checked that our table does have headers, and it converted our data into a table. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to spend a few minutes just understanding and appreciating this powerful tool in Excel called working in table mode. Okay. In one of our Excel workshops, we're going to discuss that much later on. In Excel 202, we go into quite a bit of detail into working in table mode. For now, we're just going to show you a couple of important and key aspects of working in table mode. Okay, so the first thing you might notice is that it looks very nice. I'm sure you'll agree. Okay, all these colors. So what it does is it formats it very nicely. So it differentiates the headers from the rest of the data. Then what you'll notice as well is you've got this blue, white, blue, white, blue, white. Okay, now what that does is it just makes it very easy on the eye. It makes it easy to look at. So when you're looking at people's names, it's just a lot easier to look through and just I'm going to show you what it looks like without the banded rows. Okay, and I've given the name away. So let me show you something as well that's very important. When you're in the table, you will notice that on your ribbon, we discussed the ribbon earlier, you'll notice that this design tab comes up. Okay, the table design, or yours might just say design. What I'll show you, you might be wondering that you don't see that, because if you're outside of the table, you don't see that table design tab coming up here at the end. But when you're in the table, this is quite important. We're going to come back to this a few times in this crash course. This is what we call a contextual tab. So it only comes up in certain contexts. So when we're in the table, it comes up. When we're outside of the table, it's not there. So click inside your table and go up to the design tab. I want to show you some useful just settings and features when it comes to working in table mode. So as I mentioned earlier, the banded rows. Now, here's another side point that's very, very important. Excel is not there to make you feel inferior. Okay, although we sometimes feel that. Excel really is designed in a way to help you and to empower you and to just give you as many tips as possible along the way. So I'll show you here. When I hover over any button on the ribbon, you'll notice that Excel gives me a screen tip. Guys, that's so crucial and so important just to notice that. It's a seemingly small thing, but it's very, very useful. So you'll notice when I hover over this banded rows button, Excel gives me a little tip. It's called a screen tip. So what it says here is it says display banded rows in which even rows are formatted differently from odd rows. This banding can make tables easier to read. So we'll show you. Let's have a look now. Let's try it out. If you deselect banded rows, it removes that on-off coloring system. And it's just not so easy to look at. You might prefer that, so you can switch it off, but I'm sure most of you will agree that it's just nice and looks professional and easy to read. So that's banded rows. Well, the next thing I want to show you is if for whatever reason you don't like the color blue, or as I sometimes say, if you're allergic to the color blue, who knows, it might be the case. You're not stuck with this color. You're welcome to change the color. And how do you do it? Again, we're in this contextual tab. We're going to click on this more button. How do I know it stands for more? Because when I hover over that kind of button area in the bottom right, it shows me that I can quickly change the visual style of my table. So I'm going to click on the more button. Now you can see when you hover over any of these styles, it gives you a preview. This is my personal preference. You can see it even has a name when I hover over it. It's orange table style medium 17. Okay, so now what I've done is I've changed the style. I've talked about banded rows. The final thing I just want to talk about, you'll notice that there are some filter buttons that are built in when you convert to a table. So you can see them at the top here. You might have worked with filter buttons before. If you had worked with filter buttons before, you would have had to go up to the table tab and you would have had to insert them manually by using this filter button. Okay. By the way, again, you can see on the screen tip, check how cool this is. Whenever there's a keyboard shortcut for a particular command, Excel also wants to tell you what that keyboard shortcut is. So you can see if I'm in my table now, if I press Control Shift and L, it removes the filter buttons. If I press Control Shift L, it adds them back. So that's all I want to show you for now, which is already quite a lot, I think. In terms of working in table mode, it's really a simple, efficient, easy way to hold your data, make it look slick and professional. And there's a lot more to it, but we're not going to be looking at that for now. So before we carry on, you can let us know in the chat box, are you excited and ready to start using table mode in your day-to-day work? You can let us know. You can just say yes, or you can say whatever comes to mind if you're excited and ready to start using table mode in your day-to-day work. And while you're posting that in the chat, I'm going to start introducing the next secret. Okay. The next secret is, in a way, one of my favorite features of Excel, and in many ways so underutilized. So what it is the following. What I want everyone to do, and unfortunately the one person is on a Mac, unfortunately this won't work because this one feature they decided to leave out on Excel for Mac. So I do apologize, but I'm sure it'll be interesting for you to follow along with us. What I want you to do is I want you to press the Alt button on your keyboard. I'll say that again. I want you to press the Alt button. But what you'll notice, where are my hands, guys? My hands are in the air. And you can see all of these hotkeys coming up on the ribbon. Okay, so pay careful attention here. I'm not holding down the Alt button. That's where sometimes people get a bit confused. You don't have to hold it down. You just tap the Alt button once, and you'll notice on your ribbon, all of these letters come up. Okay, I clicked, so it went away. So I'm going to press Alt again. So when you press the Alt button, by the way, many of you might have done this by accident before. I know I did before I knew really what it was all about. The Alt button basically gives you the ability to get to any button on the ribbon and the quick access toolbar we're going to see shortly as well without using the mouse. Okay, and the main purpose of it is that it's really going to save you a lot of time. So we've tapped the Alt button now. We might be a bit confused and what's going on. It looks like, I don't know what's going on here, but if we take a deep breath, that's often the advice I give people in Excel is just take a deep breath. And let's take a closer look. All it's doing is it's giving certain letters underneath the main heading for each of these tabs on the ribbon. Can you see if you look closely? So you can see we could get to the File tab by pressing F. We could get to Home, N for Insert, etc. So let's now just follow the prompts. Okay, so if we press the H button, now again, guys, you don't have to hold it down. Look where my hands are. Just pressed it once. I pressed the H button. It might look quite confusing and overwhelming, but all it's done is it's taken me into the Home tab on the ribbon. So what I can now do is I could follow the prompts to get to any button without using the mouse. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how do you get rid of it. If you press Alt, Alt gets rid of it. So Alt switches it on and Alt switches it off. Because what I want us to do is I want us to do a practical example of actually using this as opposed to just theoretically or half practically telling you about what the Alt button does. I want to give you a fully practical example where we're going to auto fit our column widths using the magic Alt button. So what do I mean? If you look closely, I've been leaving it for now, but all of our columns are the exact same width. Can you guys see? Besides for G, it went a little bit wider, I think, for some reason. But if you look closely, and you don't actually have to look that closely. If you look, for example, at the full names, you'll notice that our column widths aren't at their optimal width. Okay, and I've left that for a while. So we could auto fit them with the mouse, okay, which we're not going to look at. What I want us to do is I want us to auto fit all of the column widths using this magic Alt key. So what we're going to do very quickly before we auto fit the column widths to the magic Alt key, I'm going to whip out my Excel 2016 for Dummies. And at the back of Excel 2016 for Dummies, they have the Excel 10 commandments. Okay, they say Excel 2016, but it's actually any version of Excel. So these are the 10 commandments of Excel, which means that they are 10 things that are very important in Excel. You need to make sure you don't forget these 10 things. And the 6th commandment is so important. And I want to just tell it to you before we go and auto fit the column widths using the magic Alt key. So the 6th commandment says, thou shalt select thy cells before thou bringeth any Excel command to bear upon them, just as surely as thou doth sow before thou reapeth. Okay, so you might not have understood that. So in simple English terms, what are we saying? Always select something before you do something in Excel. It might sound simple, and maybe it is simple, but it's so crucial and such a fundamental concept in Excel. So what do I mean? If we want to now go and auto fit all of our column widths, we need to first, you might have said the answer, you need to first select all of your columns, all of your data. Does that make sense? So right now, I've only selected one cell. I'm only selecting cell C6. So if I go and I find, if you guys now look with me, if I go up to the Format button on the Home tab, so I go to the Home tab, I'm going to go to the Format button. You'll notice there's a button here which says Auto Fit Column Width. Okay, so maybe you'll see where I'm going with this. We're going to be able to get there with the magic Alt key, so without using the mouse. Okay, but if I press this button now, you'll see what happens. It only auto-fitted based on that one cell that I was selecting. So what we need to do, and I'm going to show you an amazing shortcut, we're going to press Control and A. We'll press it once, and this is on that keyboard shortcut cheat sheet download that we made available for you guys as the PDF. So I've pressed Control A. Now, when you're in table mode, it works a little bit differently. At first, just selects the data. So we're going to press Control A second time. So now that we've pressed Control A twice, it's selected all of the data and all of the column headings. So now we've obeyed the sixth commandment because we first selected all of our data. And now we're finally going to go and use that magic Alt key. So we're going to press Alt. Now follow through with me. Again, I don't have to hold it down. I just press it once. I pressed Alt. Then I'm going to press H to go into the Home tab. Again, I'm not holding it down. Now I know that I want to get to this Format button. Okay, so I'm going to press O. And you can see it opens up that whole drop-down list. And the final button I need to press to get to Auto Fit Column Width is I. Okay, so what did it do? We got to that Auto Fit Column Width button without using the mouse. Now, I know many of you might be wondering or asking yourselves or saying that wasn't very fast. Could have been a lot quicker with the mouse. Of course, it could have been because we're still learning how to use the magic Alt key. When you're first learning something, the learning journey can take a little bit longer, but I promise you, I'll show you now. If I press Control Z, that's a great shortcut which undoes what you recently did on the keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. Now that I know Alt HOI, and I've done it many times in Excel, what I can do is I can press it very quickly, as fast as my fingers can go. I don't have to go slowly and kind of follow along every time I do it. What I can now do is I can just say Alt HOI. Wow, hopefully you're impressed. Okay, but one final thing before we move on to our next secret is I'm going to show you how to go one step faster even. I'm going to press Control Z. Now, earlier I mentioned the quick access toolbar. Now, for me, this is one of the most amazing features in Excel when you combine the following two things. When you combine this magic Alt key that I've just mentioned, where you just press the Alt button and you follow the prompts, when you combine that with customizing the quick access toolbar. So right in the beginning, I mentioned that you could customize the quick access toolbar. So what you'll notice on mine, I've customized it where I've got this auto save. My second icon is cell styles. My third icon is a macro. We're not going to discuss that. That's Excel 303, macros and VBA. The fourth icon is Auto Fit Column Width. Okay, so what did I do? How did I get that Auto Fit Column Width button there, where originally it's actually here, where I go to the Home tab, Format, and Auto Fit Column Width. So all I did, and try this, please. Try this, though, with the commands in Excel that you are using a lot. So if you're using Auto Fit Column Width a lot, if you're often doing that, what you do is you find that button on the ribbon and you right click on that button and you say add to quick access toolbar. Now mine's grayed out because it's already there. So if you just added yours, it would come up at the end. Okay, just to show you, for example, if I add this percentage button, I'll right click it and I'll say add to quick access toolbar. It moved it from there to there. You see? So what I can now do is I'm going to say Control A and Control A. I have to follow the sixth commandment. I've selected my data. On mine now, guys, remember, it's going to be different on yours because each person's customized quick access toolbar is different. I'm going to press Alt, and then you'll see on top of that Auto Fit Column Width, kind of on that Auto Fit Column Width button on my quick access toolbar is the number 4. Now, again, yours will be different. But on mine, if I now press 4, I've gone even quicker. So I'll show you how quickly I can go again. I'm going to press Control Z. All I now need to do is press Alt and 4, and that will automatically press and activate that Auto Fit Column Width button. So now I'm hoping you're enjoying that, and I'm hoping that's going to add a lot of value. So that second secret is extremely powerful when you use that magic Alt key, which is the second secret, in conjunction with the customizing the quick access toolbar. So I hope you're enjoying that, and I hope you're going to use that. Dan.
Avi, does this stuff work on Word, PowerPoint, and Outlook?
Great question. Okay. Very good question. 100%, guys. Everything I've just shown you, this entire secret number 2, the Alt key and the customizing the quick access toolbar, and even a lot of the shortcuts, Control A, for example, these will work in any Office application. Okay. That means if you're in Outlook, or if you're in Word, if you're in PowerPoint, you can do the exact same thing. You can customize your quick access toolbar. You can get there with the magic Alt key. So we've given you value beyond just Excel. Fantastic. And thanks, Dan, for asking that. We are going to now go straight into our next secret. And the next secret is a whole variety of formatting shortcuts, because in Excel, we often spend a lot of time formatting things. And if you haven't noticed by now, we are massive fans of the keyboard and the keyboard shortcuts. So What we're going to do now in our third secret is just look at some formatting shortcuts. To just explain what I mean, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll notice that the data in the progress column and the data in sign-in count is fine, actually. So the data in the progress column, the data in the last activity, in the SAST, which we've established as time, and the member since column is not formatted properly. So what I want us to do is I want us to spend a little bit of time just understanding and appreciating how we can format these very, very quickly using the keyboard. Okay, so what do we need to do? As I mentioned earlier, guys, if we want to format all of these values, now I'll show you a great shortcut. This is a bonus, okay, because it doesn't really relate to formatting, but it is part of the section in a way. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold down the control button and we're going to press the down arrow. So I press the hold the control button, I'm holding it, and I press the down arrow, that jumps me to the bottom of the data. So what I want to do, as I mentioned, I'm going to jump back up by control up. That jumps me back to the top of my data. I'm sure you guys will agree, if we follow the sixth commandment, if we want to format all of the values in the progress column, we first need to select all of the data. So what we could do, we could use the mouse and go like this. You guys can tell me to stop if you think I'm going, if I'm going to take too long. Okay, hopefully you're telling me to stop. That's not the best way. You could technically use the mouse in this way, but what that's actually doing is that's selecting all the way down to the bottom of Excel, which is more than 1 million rows. So in a way, it's actually overkill. Okay, you're formatting too many cells, and that over time can actually just clog up the memory of your Excel. So what I want to show you, and it's an amazing shortcut, is I want you to stand anywhere in column B in your table. So stand anywhere in column B. Doesn't matter where you are, as long as you're somewhere in column B. You could be there, you could be there, you could be there, you could be there. Just make sure you're somewhere in the data in column B. Now what we're going to do, follow along with me. We're going to hold down the control button and we're going to press the space bar. Okay, by the way, that's where aliens go to drink, space bar. So we've pressed control and space bar, and what it has done is it selects all of the data in the progress column. So control space bar, I'll show you, if I just scroll down a bit, you can see it's gone all the way down, but it stops just at the end of the data. So we've selected thy data. That is the sixth commandment. Now what we're going to do, we're now finally going to format our data using a keyboard shortcut. Now we want to format this as a percentage. So by the way, I actually added this to the quick access toolbar earlier, so we could do that. But check how cool this is, guys. If I hover over that percentage button, either there or on my home tab, the percentage button here, what you'll notice is that Excel actually tells me the keyboard shortcut. What is it? It's Control Shift and the percentage key. So where is that percentage button? It's on top of your keyboard, on top of the number 5. So how simple is that? We're going to press Control Shift and 5, or Control Shift and the percentage button. And you'll see what that does is it formats all of those numbers as a percentage. Okay, so it's easy to remember. It's Control Shift and 5. It is on your keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. So I hope you enjoy that and I hope you use that. We are going to now move on. So we're going to now go into the last activity column. We now want to format all of these numbers as dates, because we now know and we've established that these are actually dates in Excel. So now follow along with me. We're going to go anywhere into column E. We're going to hold down the control button. We're going to press the space bar again. Remember, where aliens go to drink. So that now selects all of the data in that column. By the way, I wasn't going to mention this, but it did come up on my screen. Look closely here, by the way. If you look at the top of my table, you'll notice the column headings: full name, progress, workshop, signing count, etc. And you see the column headings A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you just look. As I scroll down in Excel, what do you notice happens to those column headings? Hey, they don't disappear. They actually are frozen, so that as we scroll down, we're always reminded what those column headings are. Now, that's so cool. We didn't have to program that. That's just, by the way, another useful feature of working in table mode. So back to where we were. We've selected all the data in our last activity column by standing in the data and saying Control Spacebar. Now what we need to do, we're going to convert to a date format. Now, it's quite easy to remember. You just need to remember the hashtag symbol. So if you look on top of your keyboard, you'll notice on top of the number 3, you'll see the hashtag symbol. So all you need to do is press Control, all at the same time, by the way, Control and Shift and 3. That will convert to a date format. Yours might look a little bit different. That's more of a Windows computer setting. We're not going to look at that now. But if you press Control Shift and 3, and you follow the 6th commandment by selecting all of our data first, that will convert all of those values into a date format. We're going to practice that again by going into the last column, which is member since. We're going to say Control and space bar again. Then what we're going to do is, again, follow the same shortcut sequence, which is Control Shift and 3. And that, again, will convert all of those values. And you'll see as I just move my mouse down slowly all the way to the bottom. Control down jumps me down. You can see I'm in row 7,122. And I jump back up. You can see it's formatted it very nicely. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go anywhere into column F. Okay, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm going to press Control space bar. Okay. That's so important, again, to reiterate the 6th commandment. Now what we're going to do, the keyboard shortcut for time involves the @ symbol. Okay, so if you look on top of the number 2 on your keyboard, you'll see that little @ symbol. Okay, avi@excelacademy.co.za, that's the @ symbol I'm referring to. If you press Control Shift and 2, which is Control Shift and the @ symbol, that will convert your data into a time format. Okay, again, yours might look a little bit different. I like this time format. I know on Dan's computer it doesn't have the AM and PM. So that's, again, that's just the Windows setting. But I'm sure you guys will agree that using these shortcuts for formatting, we've just looked at a few of them, which is secret weapon number 3 or secret number 3. They are secret weapons, is going to save you a lot of time when it comes to formatting your data. By the way, I just want to show you another one, even though we don't exactly have data that relates to this. If I go into the sign-in count column, okay, this is how many times that person has signed into our online platform. You'll notice that they're just numbers, and that's actually fine. We don't need to format them, but I'm just going to show you an example of 1 or 2 other formatting shortcuts that I'm sure you'll find useful. So let's just practice it, even though it's not going to make sense. Go anywhere into the sign-in count column. We're going to say Control space bar. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to press, let's say these were currency values. If you look on the top of your keyboard, you'll see the dollar symbol. Okay, so that dollar symbol represents the currency symbol, which means that if you press, again, Control Shift, you'll see the theme, Control Shift and one of those numbers at the top of your keyboard. So Control Shift and 4, that will convert to a currency. Okay, if yours converts to dollar, it means that that's a Windows regional setting. You need to go and look at your computer settings and tell your computer that you're in South Africa if you want rands as opposed to dollars. Okay, so now what I've done is I've converted that into a currency format, and now we know that it's incorrect. So what we rather want to do is we want to convert into a general format, which basically means unformatted. So how that works, and again, these are all on your keyboard shortcut cheat sheets. If you look underneath the escape button on your keyboard, okay, so that's on the far left, the top left-hand side, you can see that little squiggle symbol. Okay, so if you press Control Shift and squiggle, it's just to the left of the number 1. What that does is that kind of removes all formatting. It goes back to a general. You can even see here, by the way, this is what you'd do if you weren't using the keyboard shortcuts. I just want to see if that shortcut does come up here, by the way. No, but if I hover over that, it might show the shortcut. So if I select all the data, Control spacebar, Control Shift and 4 went to currency, then Control Shift and squiggle all the way on the far left, removed formatting, because in this case, we don't need to have any formatting on these values. Okay, cool, guys. So that is our secret number 3, using the keyboard shortcuts for formatting your data. Okay, Dan.
I feel like I'm in school putting my hand up and waiting for the teacher to give me a chance to talk. Avi, this is amazing stuff. I think it might be nice to show the decimals. Like, what do you do when you want to put in a couple of decimal places, take out? Yeah.
Great. So what you actually see, and you can play around with this, guys. So I'm going to select my data. I'm going to go into the sign-in count column. I'm going to say Control spacebar. And what I'm actually going to show you, if you hold down Control and Shift, if you start off with squiggle on the left, so squiggle, I'm pressing squiggle now. You can see it went back to general. Then I'm going to just follow the numbers from left to right. So if I press Control Shift and 1, that converts to a number format with 2 decimal points. And you can see just as I follow along, we actually did all of these. Then Control Shift and 2 will convert it to a time. even though these don't make sense. Control Shift and 3 date. Control Shift and 4 will be currency. Control Shift and 5 will be percentage. Control Shift and 6 is scientific. Control Shift and 7 will do something else. I'm not going to do that. But what you'll notice, and it's good that Dan pointed that out, you can actually just play around with it. So Control Shift and 1, as Dan mentioned, that would convert to a number format. You can see it says number here with 2 decimal points. So I'm just going to go back to general, which is Control Shift and squiggle. So that's quite important to play around with and get familiar and comfortable with those. So now we know some amazing keyboard shortcuts for formatting your data. All right. So yes.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you one more time. Avi, I think what I was actually referring to is that's all brilliant. And now we know the squiggle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But what about at the top of the ribbon with those little buttons that increase or decrease the decimals, number 1. And number 2 is Gilla asked about telephone numbers. I don't know if we have enough time to maybe look at how to format a telephone number when it drops the 0, which can be quite annoying.
Great, Chris. Okay, cool. So we can definitely look at that. We are going to get through those last 2 secrets, but absolutely, guys. So what I'm going to do, and you can follow along with me if you want, I'm going to go to a random blank cell in Excel. Okay, and I'm going to type in a random cell phone number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in South Africa, that would be a typical cell phone number where there are 10 digits. And what I'm sure many of you guys have experienced before, when you press enter, it drops the 0 away. Okay, why does it do that? Many of you might know the answer. The answer is that when it comes to numbers in general in the world, okay, a 0 at the start of a number is meaningless. Okay, so if I say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, or I'm actually just saying 1. Okay, when it comes to mathematical numbering. So Excel has to follow that same principle. So when you put in 0 at the start of a number in Excel, it drops it because it's meaningless. So that's actually why it does it. So there's a few different ways that we could go about doing this. In our Excel 101 workshop, we show you this particular method. In Excel 202, we look at a different method. So I'm going to show you a simple method to format your cell phone numbers where the 0 will not drop. Okay, so let's say you had a whole list of numbers. You'd follow the 6th commandment and you'd select all of them. You don't have to do it one by one, but in my case, I've only got 1. So I'm going to select my data, which is just 1 cell. What I'm then going to do, similar to a shortcut we did earlier. Earlier we said Control Shift and 1. Now we're just going to say Control and 1. So what Control and 1 does is it opens up this Format Cells dialog box. Okay, if you don't want the shortcut, you can right-click on that cell and you can click on Format Cells. Does the same thing. So it's Control 1. It's the 1 on top of your keyboard, not the one on the right. Then what you need to do, you need to click on the number tab. Okay, which means that we're going to format it as a number, but in a very specific and in a very customized way. So we're going to go right down to the bottom where it says custom. Okay, you can see we're in the Format Cells dialog box. We've clicked on number. We've gone down to custom. Okay, I double clicked on it, which is a bad idea. You click on custom at the bottom there. Then, check how cool this is. In that box where it says type, it currently says general. We're going to backspace and we're going to remove that general. And what we're going to do, we're going to type in 10 zeros. Now, what that basically tells Excel is no matter what, I want to display 10 digits. Okay, so you'll see how that works. I'm going to start typing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And already you can see in the sample box, it now makes that 0 reappear. So what it's basically saying to Excel is no matter what, I want this number to be displayed with 10 digits. So when I click on OK, you can see it's now displaying with the 0 in the front. Looks a lot better. So all we did, we selected it, we said Control 1, or we right-clicked and Format Cells dialog box. We went down to custom. We then typed in 10 zeros. That is it. Fantastic. I hope you enjoy that. I deleted that because we don't really need it. Now moving on to the 4th secret. The 4th secret is something that hopefully when I show it to you, you will have wished that you'd known it many, many years ago. So let's obviously appreciate that we're showing it to you now. And what do I mean? Very often you want to have some color and life and some color formatting in your data. So let's say we've got our progress now. So what we want to do, we want to show the top students highlighted in green, the lowest students highlighted in red, and kind of everything in between in like slightly lighter shades. Okay, and as we go down, you maybe go to a bit of like a yellow, go to an orange, and as we get closer to red, okay, you can see I'm not even doing the best job here, but you can see what I'm doing is I'm formatting these values so that I can just have some life and color in my data. Okay, so if you thought, imagine I had to do that method all the way down. So I could do a few at a time. I could do all the hundreds like that. I could even maybe use the filter buttons over here. We discussed that earlier. I could select just all the hundreds. So there are some interesting ways that I could do that, but there's a simple way in Excel to format your numbers using a particular condition. So you'll see what I mean now. So I'm going to press Control Z a couple of times to remove all these random colors. All we need to now do, check how simple this is and check how amazing this is, and I'm hoping it's going to blow your minds. So what do we need to do? We want to format all of these progress percentages in this kind of color scale system. So all we need to do now, check how cool this is. Again, follow the 6th commandment. So stand anywhere in your data and press Control Spacebar. Okay, so we stand anywhere in the data. We want to format all of these, so we first need to select all of them. Now what we need to do is we're going to now want to go to the Home tab on the ribbon. Okay, you can use the mouse, or you can use the Magic Alt key. And we want to get to this conditional formatting button. So this is secret number 4, using conditional formatting. So what do I mean? If we hover over that button, it says easily spot trends and patterns in your data using bars, colors, and icons to visually highlight important values. For now, I'm just going to use the mouse. I'm going to click on that. And there's a whole variety of different types of conditional formatting. We're not going to go into all of them. We're just going to look at one basic type of conditional formatting for now. You can play around with it a bit in your own time. And we are going to tell you a little bit about our Excel workshops. In Excel 202, we go into quite a bit more detail in using conditional formatting. So for now, we're going to use color scales. And we're actually just going to select that first option, which is green, yellow, red. Apply a color gradient to a range of cells. The color indicates where each cell value falls within that range. So you'll notice I haven't actually done that much so far. Selected all those percentages. I went up to conditional formatting, color scales, and I'm going to select that first option. And now what you can see is magic. What it's done is it's done all of that hard work for me, guys. I didn't have to go and manually format them and highlight them. That was obviously the long way around in Excel. So that just hopefully gives you a bit of an inclination into how powerful conditional formatting can be. Okay, you can go and you can play around with it a bit more in your own time. But the main thing I want to tell you is that it's very important to always follow that 6th commandment. To first select thy data and then go and apply the conditional formatting. So again, you'll see what it did is it put the highest values in 100, the lowest in red, and then kind of it fills in all the various shades in between of orange and red, etc. All right, guys. So that is secret number 4, conditional formatting. As I said, we're going into quite a bit more detail on conditional formatting in our Excel 202 workshop. The final thing I want us to look at today is really just a taste and an intro into what's called a pivot table. By the way, Dan, maybe now's a good time to launch that final poll. Are you enjoying this? Is this adding value? Are you having fun? So you'll see that we're about to launch a poll. Are you enjoying this? You loving it? You might have already known some of this. I'm hoping no one answers that last point, but we gave it there as an option. You're a bit bored. Okay. Some of you might already have known some of this. Hopefully you've learned a few new things though, I'm hoping. And hopefully even if you already did know some of this, it's a refresher. So I'm glad to know that 84% of you are loving it. That is fantastic. That's music to our ears. And I'm also pleased that no one is bored. Okay. Did my best. By the way, that space bar was the first time I've used that joke. So you guys were the first to hear the alien drinking space bar jokes. I hope you enjoyed that. All right, guys, on to our final secret, which is using and setting up a basic pivot table. Really just a little intro into what is a pivot table and demystifying it a little bit and really just giving you a bit of an intro into what is a pivot table. So what is a pivot table? In essence, what it is that you guys will agree we've got a huge data set over here. If I jump down again, control down, we've got 7,000 plus rows. So it's not easy at all actually to know what is actually going on a higher level. Okay. So whatever kind of context you're in your job, in your work, in your life, whatever it might be, it's often very useful to know what's actually going on a higher level, kind of bigger picture. What's actually going on? What trends are there in this data? What's actually going on? What are kind of, how can we summarize and just see on a higher level what's actually going on in this data? Okay, another good way of explaining what a pivot table is if you think of a car. Okay, a car obviously has an engine and there's a whole lot that's going on underneath the bonnet or underneath the hood. Okay, there's an engine and there's water and there's oil and there's a whole lot of things that are going on, but you don't always need to know exactly what's going on underneath the bonnet, the detail. Okay, but what you do need is a dashboard. So when you're in the car, when you're in the driving seat, you've got a dashboard, and that's just going to give you some key performance indicators, some important metrics and indicators of what's actually going on and what you really need to be aware of. So for example, if the engine is overheating, you would need to know that. So it'll tell you that. So in a similar way, a pivot table is a dashboard. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to do a little bit of an intro into setting up, for many of you, it might be your first pivot table. You might have heard of it before. So let's have a look at how we do this. It's actually quite simple. I want you to stand anywhere in your data, in your table. Okay, I then want you to go up to the Insert tab on the ribbon. Okay, so it's Insert, and on the far left, you'll see the Pivot Table button. You can see the screen tip says easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. By the way, you obviously could use the magic Alt key, so you could press Alt, then N, takes you to the Insert tab, and then V. Okay, so either way, I want you to either use Alt, then N, then V, or click on the Pivot Table on the Insert tab. Then you'll notice that this box comes up, it picks up your whole data range. We're not going to change anything. So it's actually quite simple. So you don't need to change anything. Don't change any of these settings. Just click on OK. Now, what has it done? You might be a bit confused. What's going on over here? What it's done is it's inserted a new sheet at the bottom. By the way, what we can quickly do, it's a good convention. I forgot to mention this. I like naming my sheets. How do we do that? There's a way to do it with the keyboard, obviously, but for now, I'm just going to show you with the mouse. You double click on sheet 1, that we're going to call data. We'll double click on sheet 2, and that we're going to call pivot table, one word, by the way. Okay, so now we're in the pivot table sheet. So you can see it inserted a new sheet. And as I mentioned earlier, often the advice I like giving people in Excel is just take a deep breath. Don't stress. It might look weird and overwhelming and complicated, but if we take a deep breath and we look a bit closer, we'll see that Excel is actually trying to help us. So you see on the left-hand side, this is the pivot table placeholder, meaning that's where the pivot table is going to go when we actually start building it. And it's just giving you a bit of an instruction. I'll zoom in a little bit, not too much, because then you'll see it actually, the nice picture disappears. So in this pivot table placeholder, it's actually telling me what to do. And that's the value of breathing and relaxing and just taking a closer look. I know we can often get a bit overwhelmed in Excel, but if we just realize that Excel's trying to help us, then already we'll feel a lot more relaxed. So it's saying, to build a report, choose fields. Now, what are fields? Okay. If you go back to the data and we jump to the top, you'll see full name, progress. The column headings, they become the field names. So if you look here and you can see this, okay. Let's just do a nice little drawing over here. I haven't done this in a while. So this is the same as this. It's just kind of showing you where to look. So it's saying, go to that other side of your screen and choose fields. These are fields from the fields list. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear my magical drawings over there. Okay. And I'm just going to follow Excel's advice then. So you can see it's saying tick something. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go and I'm just going to tick on workshop. I'm just going to click on it like that. Watch here. Click in the tick box. And what it's done is it's now inserted a pivot table. It's a very simple pivot table, and that's fine. But it's already showing me something very important about my data. So what you'll notice when you click on that field, what it did is it moved it into the rows area at the bottom. Adjust my sizing slightly here. You can see it moved it into the rows area at the bottom. By the way, I'll show you, it's quite cool. I can actually move this out. If I click and drag it out, I can also click and drag it in. There's two ways to actually move these fields into the areas at the bottom. Okay, so you got a bit overwhelmed by the clicking and dragging. Don't worry. I'll show you that if you just click on workshop it adds it into the row. So it makes it the row headings. And what you'll notice is so crucial in a pivot table, it will only show you the unique items from that field. So workshop is the field, and items, which is the data in that field, you can see there's lots of entries. There's 7,000 entries, but it only shows me the unique items. So if I go back to my pivot table, now for the first time, we definitely know that there are only 3 workshops. We've got 3 Excel workshops. We'll tell you a bit about them in the next couple of minutes. If you guys are happy to hang around for another 10 or 15 minutes till about 11:15, we'll tell you about the 3 Excel workshops. But what's so crucial so far is we're seeing in a pivot table, it will only show you the unique items from that field. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you for now, just in terms of getting started in a pivot table, the next step typically would be to find a value that you can put in this values area at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to put progress into the value. So as I mentioned, you can just click on it with the mouse, or you can actually click and drag. So you click and you hold and you drag it into values. Now I just want to show you something quite important. When you're building a pivot table and you're inserting values, very often by default, it won't show you the correct type of calculation. Okay, guys, when it comes to percentages, we already know that the progress values are percentages. You don't want to sum up your percentages. So what we want to do, I'm going to show you something very important and crucial, is we want to change the type of calculation. All we've done so far, in case you're confused, we inserted the pivot table, we inserted workshop as rows, we've inserted progress into values. Now we're going to click on that little arrow over there next to sum of progress. We're going to click on value field settings. This is important. I'm going to close this. I'm going to show you another way to get there. One way is to click on that arrow. Another way is to double click on sum of progress over here. Can you see where I am? Double click there. That also takes you to value field settings. So all we need to do is we need to click on average, because averaging your percentages makes a lot more sense than summing up your percentages. So we're going to click on average. I'm going to click on OK. And these are now all showing as the average of percentage, average of progress. Okay. I'm going to show you last thing, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to show you just how to format your values. I've shown you so far how to change the calculation of your values in a pivot table. The final thing I want to show you is how to change the formatting of your values in a pivot table. We could just select all of these and we could use Control Shift and 5. The problem with this, guys, is that all we've done now, we've highlighted cells B4, B5, B6, B7. Okay. So for example, as our pivot table expands, I'm just doing this as an example, don't stress. Okay, you don't have to know what I did there, but I just inserted dates into the columns. Okay, it actually did work, by the way. Okay, what I was thinking is that if I press Control Z, ooh, it's going to remove the last activity. What it did is it actually did format it correctly, but I'm going to press Control Z anyway. And I just want to show you a more robust way to format your percentages in a pivot table. By the way, don't get confused. I inserted dates into columns. Dates can be very tricky when it comes to pivot tables. We're not going to look at that today. If you are interested, as I mentioned, we're going to just tell you a bit about our full Excel workshops and some specials that we're running. And in our Excel 202 workshop, we go into a bit more detail into working with dates in a pivot table. But for now, the final thing I want to show you, if you double click on average of progress, then you'll see in the bottom left over here, that's a more robust way to format your values in a pivot table. So what did I do? Last time, I double clicked on average of progress. I'm going to go down to number format. And over here, I'm going to click percentage. Okay, as opposed to using the shortcut. So when I click on OK and then OK, that will now format these values as a percentage. Okay, so guys, that's really just the intro and hopefully beginning to demystify pivot tables. I'm sure many of you might have heard of it and you've maybe played around with it. I'm going to stop my screen sharing and I'm just going to say, how's it? And how did you guys enjoy that? You can post any comments in the chat. Okay, so I can see that David has left. Okay, guys, so if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. What we are going to do is I'm going to ask Dan to just tell you briefly about our Excel workshops, and we're going to post a link, and actually the same link that you downloaded your cheat sheet and your data from, that same link is going to have a link to our amazing specials that we are running on our workshops. And in order to encourage you to act quickly, once we show you the specials actually expire tonight at midnight. Okay, so Dan, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Avi. That was absolutely amazing, full of energy, full of gears. That was awesome, full of practical tips and tricks. And by the looks of it, everybody got huge value. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to Avi. Thank you to David, who had to leave for an 11 o'clock meeting. I popped you a message, Avi, in the chat, but I don't think you saw it because you were fully zoned into Excel. So basically what we've done is we've got a 70% off special on our website on our online Excel courses. But because you're here live and you stuck around till the end, about 95% of you actually have stuck around right till the end, even though it's after 11 o'clock now. We're offering you an additional discount on our training workshops and a little bit of extra time to think about it and make a plan. So this deal will expire on Friday at midnight South African time. So I'm putting it in the chat now. And as I said, you can just use the exact same link. And when you go to that link, you'll now see a green button which says click here to unlock 75% off all our online courses. And you can just use the code Excel_switched on at checkout. I will share my screen just to show you what that looks like. When you click on the link, you should get to this page. And this was the red button, which you can still use to download your Excel file and your free cheat sheets. And the green button will open up a new tab, which takes you to the plans and pricing page. You can see here, this is the 70% off deal that I was talking about, which expires this evening at midnight. And for example, Excel Uni 2020, which includes 101, 202, and 303, will be cut to $150 for you until Friday night at midnight as an exclusive deal for those people who have tuned in today with for this crash course. So if you click there, buy now, and at checkout, you put in Excel switched on. Okay, right. So I think I've got it, and I'm using a little trick here. Okay, there it is. What did I press? I pressed Windows and V. Instead of Control V to paste, Windows V is really nice because it gives you a clipboard. If you apply, then that should cut that down to by 75% to $150. Okay, so this is a great deal, $150. That gives you exclusive lifetime access, immediate and lifetime access to all three of our workshops. And basically, just to give you an idea at a high level, what is covered in each course, why would you want to do each of the three courses? And you might not be able to see me because I had actually spotlighted Avi. Okay, there we go. So what is covered in each course? So in Excel 101, we cover the fundamentals. We cover a whole lot more keyboard shortcuts. We cover formulas and functions, which we actually didn't really look at today. And we look at best practices when working in Excel. It's really a foundational, fundamental course where you learn how to do things properly and efficiently and smartly from the start. That sets the scene for Excel 202, which covers advanced Excel data analysis. So sometimes people call it an advanced Excel course. Sometimes people say to us, I want to learn everything there is to know about pivot tables and VLOOKUPs and all of that stuff. That's all covered in Excel 202. You'll learn how to slice and dice your data and really get insights and make better, smarter, more informed business decisions by doing Excel 202. Then in Excel 303, we look at macros and VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. It's the coding or programming language of Excel. It's jam-packed. It takes your Excel skills to another level. And it's really, helps to unlock a whole lot of secrets when it comes to automating and streamlining your work in Excel. So full of awesome content. So thank you once again to everybody for joining. Thank you, Gina. Thank you to Cherise. Please post your comments in the chat. If you enjoyed this, I see Mark Spiro in Ranana in Israel loved the clipboard, the Windows V. So please post your comments. Tell us what was your favorite part of the training today. What was your favorite secret? Maybe one of those 5 best kept secrets or one of the little tips. Hopefully you got at least one awesome game-changing tip or technique from us today. So let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, definitely stay in touch. We actually have 5 WhatsApp groups, which are pretty full during this lockdown period. Avi, I'm going to ask you just to post the link to one of those WhatsApp groups, maybe WhatsApp group number 5 in the chat so people can join.
Yes, I'll get that link. And just another thing to note, in that download that we sent you, let me just find the link here. In that download that we sent you, we've also got our South African rate card if you want to maybe look at a team or you want us to talk to you at your company. So you can look at that. You will notice that the individual prices currently on special in dollars is a little bit less, But if we need to go through company and procurement, then you probably want to go in rands and invoice. So there's our rate card, and you'll see our contact details are there. You can obviously discuss that with us. Just by the way, in case you're wondering why it's in dollars, it's just how we've priced our online business, and that's why in particular we have given you such a generous discount. So it actually works out cheaper than our South African rates at the moment. So even though it's dollars, might look a bit scary, with the 75% unique code just for you guys, it actually works out quite a generous rate and discount. By the way, I've just put a link to join our WhatsApp group, which is Excel Academy Lockdown 5. If you just want to stay up to date for any further crash courses or free webinars that we're running. Yeah, that's it.
Great. Cool. So guys, thanks for the feedback. We'll leave this open for another 30 seconds or so, just if you want to make any final comments or share what's on your mind in the chat, ask any questions, tell us a joke. Okay. We will hopefully see you soon. We love running these free trainings. So if there's something on your mind that you want us to cover in an upcoming free crash course, let us know. We sometimes offer a pivot table masterclass. So let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And if you, as Avi said, if you want us to get in touch with your HR person at your company, you want us to train you and your team, most of the business that we actually do is through corporates or organizations, so we can definitely have that conversation. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you to Gusi or Gucci. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that. You say secret number 4 is your favorite. That's great to know. That was the conditional formatting one. Thank you to Carrie Thomas. Thank you, Jean Goldstein. Glad it was informative. Thank you, Nix. Thank you to all of you. We are going to bid you farewell and take care. Stay safe. Stay in touch. And we will see you very soon. Cheers for now.